There are moments in the market when a single number becomes more than just a price. It becomes a line in the sand, a psychological battlefield where fear, opportunity, and global uncertainty collide. Right now, silver hovering near $89 is one of those moments. Around the world, geopolitical tensions are rising, headlines are flashing about missile launches and sudden shifts in energy markets, and yet quietly, almost silently, the silver market is approaching a level that many analysts believe could decide the tone for the entire week ahead. And this is what makes the current moment so fascinating, because when silver pushes toward $90 while the world is dealing with geopolitical stress and collapsing oil prices, it reveals something deeper about how global markets process uncertainty. This isn't just about metals or commodities, it's about psychology, liquidity, and the hidden mechanisms that move financial systems. The title itself tells a powerful story. Silver hitting $89 at the same time geopolitical tensions escalate and oil drops sharply is not a random coincidence. These events often interact in ways that reveal where investors are searching for stability. When uncertainty spreads across geopolitical headlines, markets often begin shifting their focus toward assets that historically represent stability or scarcity. But the key detail here is the number 90. Because in financial markets, certain price levels carry enormous psychological weight. Think of it like climbing a mountain. When a climber approaches a summit, the last few steps are often the most difficult. The air gets thinner, the terrain becomes steeper, and every movement requires more energy. In markets, psychological price levels work the same way. When silver approaches a major round number, it forces every participant, large institutions, hedge funds, traders, and observers, to make a decision. Are we witnessing strength that could carry prices higher? Or is this a moment where momentum pauses and resets? And right now that question sits right at the $90 mark. Because markets are not just numbers on a screen, they are reflections of global confidence. When geopolitical tension appears in the headlines, markets begin reevaluating risk. When energy prices shift suddenly, it can change inflation expectations, currency strength, and commodity demand all at once. And silver sits right at the intersection of those forces. Silver is unique because it behaves like two different assets at the same time. On one hand, it has industrial demand tied to technology, manufacturing, and renewable energy. On the other hand, it shares characteristics with precious metals that historically attract attention during periods of uncertainty. That dual nature means silver often reacts to multiple global forces simultaneously. When geopolitical tension increases, markets start looking for signals. When oil prices collapse unexpectedly, it raises new questions about global demand, economic momentum, and supply dynamics. And when these forces collide near a major price level, the market becomes a fascinating case study in human behavior. Because the truth is that markets are emotional ecosystems. Every price movement reflects thousands of decisions made by individuals and institutions interpreting the same information in different ways. Some see risk, others see opportunity, some respond to fear, while others respond to momentum. And the $90 level for silver becomes a kind of mirror reflecting those competing perspectives. This is where understanding market psychology becomes far more important than trying to predict exact outcomes. If there is one lesson repeated throughout financial history, it's that markets rarely move in straight lines. They surge, they pause, they consolidate, and sometimes they surprise everyone watching. Major price levels like $90 often become areas where the market slows down just long enough for participants to reassess the story. Imagine a crowded intersection in a busy city. Cars from every direction approach the same point, each driver deciding whether to accelerate, slow down, or turn. That intersection is what a major price level looks like on a chart. Orders accumulate, expectations build, and suddenly a simple number becomes a decision point for the entire market. What makes this moment even more interesting is the broader context. Global headlines involving geopolitical tensions can act like sudden gusts of wind on financial markets. They change sentiment quickly, and when sentiment changes, capital moves. Sometimes it moves quietly, other times it moves rapidly. But experienced observers understand something important. Headlines create immediate reactions, while long-term trends are often built on deeper structural forces. Silver's journey toward higher price levels over time is influenced by supply dynamics, industrial demand, monetary policy environments, and investor perception of value. And this is why the $90 level carries symbolic meaning beyond a single trading session. It represents a checkpoint in the larger narrative of how markets respond to global uncertainty. When people around the world start paying closer attention to precious metals again, it often reflects a deeper conversation about trust in financial systems, inflation awareness, and economic resilience. But here's where perspective becomes incredibly valuable. Instead of focusing only on short-term excitement around price movements, it helps to step back and observe the patterns that repeat throughout history. Markets have always responded to geopolitical events, energy shocks, and monetary shifts. Yet every cycle teaches the same lesson. Those who study the mechanics behind the movements often understand the story far better than those reacting to every headline. Think of financial awareness like learning to read weather patterns. A sudden storm may grab attention, but experienced meteorologists look beyond the storm to understand pressure systems, temperature patterns, and atmospheric shifts. In markets, price levels, liquidity flows, and global economic signals function in a similar way. They reveal the underlying forces shaping what we see on the surface. So when silver approaches $90 during a week filled with geopolitical tension and energy market surprises, it becomes an opportunity to observe how markets process complex information. Are participants treating silver primarily as an industrial asset tied to economic activity, or are they viewing it through the lens of monetary history, where precious metals often gain attention during uncertain times? The answer may evolve hour by hour, but the educational value lies in watching how those narratives interact. Another powerful lesson from moments like this involves patience. Financial markets reward observation more than reaction. When price approaches a major level, the most valuable skill is often the ability to pause, analyze, and understand what the market is communicating, because markets speak through behavior. Volume increases, volatility expands, headlines intensify, and beneath all of that activity, a simple question emerges. Is the market building energy for a new phase, or is it releasing pressure after a strong move? These are the kinds of questions that experienced observers ask, not to predict the future with certainty, but to deepen their understanding of how financial ecosystems function. And silver's approach to $90 this week provides a perfect example. If history teaches anything, it's that major levels attract attention. Attention attracts liquidity, and liquidity creates movement. Sometimes that movement is explosive, and sometimes it's subtle, but it always tells a story about how participants interpret the world around them. For viewers following global markets, moments like this can become valuable educational checkpoints. They remind us that markets are not isolated from world events. Energy prices, geopolitical developments, currency dynamics, and industrial demand all intersect in ways that influence commodities like silver. Understanding those connections builds a stronger foundation for financial awareness. Because financial literacy isn't about chasing headlines, it's about recognizing patterns. It's about learning how psychological levels influence behavior. It's about observing how global events ripple through interconnected markets, and it's about developing the patience to study those processes instead of reacting impulsively. The $90 level, in many ways, symbolizes that learning process. It's a reminder that markets operate through layers of perception. Institutional strategies, retail sentiment, macroeconomic trends, and geopolitical signals all converge at key moments. And when they do, they create fascinating chapters in the ongoing story of global finance. So whether silver holds near $89, moves toward 90, or temporarily steps back, the real value lies in understanding what these movements reveal about market structure and human psychology, because every cycle leaves clues about liquidity, clues about sentiment, clues about how the world interprets uncertainty. And those clues help build something far more valuable than short-term excitement: perspective. Perspective allows observers to step outside the noise and recognize the broader narrative unfolding across global markets. It encourages curiosity instead of fear. It replaces reaction with analysis, and over time it transforms market watching from a stressful guessing game into a fascinating study of global behavior. As this week unfolds and silver continues interacting with that critical $90 threshold, the most important takeaway isn't predicting the exact outcome, it's recognizing the significance of the moment itself, because markets reveal their lessons in real time, and those lessons are available to anyone willing to observe carefully. If you found this breakdown valuable, consider supporting the channel by liking the video, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing for more deep dives into global markets, precious metals, and financial awareness. Every week brings new signals, new patterns, and new opportunities to learn how the world's financial systems truly move. Stay curious, stay patient, and keep watching the bigger picture.